a peer review. Peer review.
What they call it in academia, and we're somewhat working a bit like that with pulling out other people's attempts and doing them ourselves and picking at them when we see them.
So Tammy picked out Eon of Battle's Space Hulk video. It's a good video. Obviously, Tammy's not here to talk about it. It's very atmospheric. I love like all the stained glass and the lighting effects. Very cool.
Yeah.
Anything to say about it?
I'd love to go pick through that. Hey, my mom says Jay sounds like a snake oil salesman who's trying to get us to buy stuff from his online store, but Jay doesn't have an online store. If Jay was releasing like one video a month as good as one of his videos a month, I would think, it's all right. But the fact he's doing like 3 a week of that quality is perfectly okay. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I don't want him to burn out.
No, I'm very impressed by all his videos. So moving on, let's go to mine.
Oh my god, what is that? And how do I lick it?
This is the 10th Gnomish Annual Judgment Festival. I love this. It's such an amazing diorama. It's just like beautiful, very fairy tale realism. Just this beautiful scene of a bunch of gnomes have got this. It's actually the old Warhammer giant, which I have never seen painted so well.
The lighting, glowy, contrasty, fading, gradienty color thing is amazing here. And I think it would be a beautiful little scene with flat lighting, but it's definitely made all the more amazing by this gradienty colorliness that I can't do. And because it's made all the more amazing, we're paying attention to all the little details. And
Yep. So they brought this giant in for judgment. I'm not sure it's meant to be a giant or if that's meant to be at human scale and the gnomes are smaller.
But look at the bulldog has a little bowler hat. Got a little hat. He knows he's got a little hat and he looks like the shit. He knows he's the shit.
Oh yeah, he's so cute up there. Yeah, there's gnomes, little bulldog with bowler hat. Little executioner gnome with a tiny axe, like he's going to get the head off that thing.
He's got a red cap. I think I've seen that model before somewhere.
It does look familiar. I can't think
Just
where.
on its own as a creature caster thing, maybe?
But yeah, the prisoner they're bringing in, this giant, I just want to come back to this because the torso of that giant, I think everyone agrees, is just ridiculous. And it never looks good. But the amount of painting has actually made it look kind of realistic here, or the paint job they've gone for, and that's about the best I've ever seen it painted. Probably people have done as good or better, but just within the scene, that's absolutely amazing.
Overall, it looks like, and well, sorry if this is a closing comment, I'll save it. Should I say it?
No, go ahead.
So overall, the composition, the image, the vibe, the energy it gives off reminds me of some like an illustration from something like a children's book or something like Lady Coddington's Pressed Fairies or the old Bramley Hedge book.
Yes.
Where they're trying to pack as much detail as they can together because they've only got one page to get this concept across. However, the artist doing this piece here has done that same overflowing and densely packed with detail. Little blades of grass, little hands, ropes, tiles. And they've done that in a 3D space that it doesn't have that same constraint that you would expect. And I think that in the children's books, the reason in the sort of illustrations that we're used to, these things look so overloaded because the artist had to work within this constraint, and because the constraint was there, they had this border and they could easily spread out the detail. But the person sculpting and assembling this also did, I'm assuming it's the same person who was painting it, but because it's a different task, I'm saying the person sculpting and assembling this also managed to maintain that really good density and even spacing of detail, and then just stop at the edge. There's like nothing hanging out or on. It's just, we're starting the model. There's a little clown, the guy on a giant stoat. There's his friend riding behind him on the stoat. There's a bulldog with a hat. The hat has some detail. There's a gnome or something holding up, and then it's done.
It is so good, so good.
Yeah, mine's not. Mine's
cracking piece.
About simplicity, so I'm feeling a bit embarrassed.
Right, let's move on to yours then.
Yeah, so I think these are Skull Pass goblins, and that I think these are just the Skull Pass goblins. From the bases, they've been redone fairly recently, or maybe they were painted the first time fairly recently. If you're looking at this with hopeless sadness because you only have Skull Pass goblins, hey, look, these work without their feet showing, so these could have been hacked off an old base. Anyway, so these are 5 black goblins, or 5 night goblins, not black goblins, sorry. 5 night goblins with their little traditional style of robes and little red highlights, but the painter put grayish tops on the robes. The night goblin robes seem to have a hood and maybe overrobes and underrobes. Usually in the sculpts. And this painter said, oh wait, what if I paint the skull, the hood a slightly gray, an off gray, a bright gray? And I think it's
like a very pale green, I think, like a green gray.
And it doesn't change what the goblin is, but it really changes the model and makes it look nice. And I don't know if you've got like 100 of these on the table and they've each got their little green robe, if it'd be easier to pick them out and see them. But it's I think in its simplicity, it's a brilliant little change.
That is a beautiful, just perfect tabletop paint job.
Well then I'd say the job on the models is actually pretty good beyond tabletop. I'm looking at like the little highlighted noses, and there is some gradient shading on the hoods. There's definitely highlighting going on those robes. Those robes are not reflecting that white light on the corner. That's
they've taken the time to highlight them, but it's obviously condensed into, they've got it down into a strict science, I guess, at this point, if they've been painting a load of goblins, because God knows you need to paint enough of those. And it just seems like a very kind of like...
But, I mean, looking at this everywhere, I would have used more colors. I'm glad they didn't.
It's that perfect intersection between like efficiency and quality, I think. And that's what really gets me about them. Like, sure, you could take these further, but like they are about as good as you can get for like painting 100 of them.
They say simplicity.
They look stunning.
They say perfection is achieved not when there's nothing left to add, but there's nothing left to take away. And I think this nails that. Like if I'd done this, I probably would have used 6 different colors because there's 6 different mushrooms, and I would have tried to do. No, this looks good like that with 3 colors spread. Each model only at No, this Martin of Martin Paints knew what they were doing and did it right. I did try to do the usual thing of messaging them to ask if we could use it, but I couldn't find any way to contact them. So it's Martin Paints on Twitter. They've got other stuff. This was just the one that was floating around and made me go, whoa.
Very cool. Yeah, I can just imagine just like hundreds of these boys on the table. It looks so good.
Or even just 5 of them on a shelf or in a little diorama of a cave.
Oh, yeah.
Is something to go, ooh.
Lovely. Okay, then. Well, that's everything for today. We've been Bleeding Tree Gaming. I'm Warpfiend Amy.
I am calling myself Peter the Paint Goblin.